can you just describe where we are in the festival and where we are physically at this moment?
Geographically and emotionally?
Yes.
Geographically, we're in the Pleasance Courtyard, which is an important hub. Emotionally, we are at the frayed end of the festival. Well, today's the day, isn't it, where, as far as punters are concerned, there are only 5 shows that are good.
Yeah.
And there are now 4,306 that are equally shit.
People who've missed the bus.
People who missed the bus, yeah.
But this time last year, you were one of those 5 shows.
I was on the bus, yeah. I had a bus ticket. How long can we stretch this analogy, do you think?
I'm willing to stay on it, because I'm curious to know about how it felt last year when you just heard the news, I am one of the 5.
Well, when the conductor first gave me the wink,
yeah,
and I was at the bus stop, no, it was a good feeling last year. It was because last year I didn't really expect it.
What was the premise of the show last year that they went mad for?
Last year was perfectionism. So last year was whether wanting things to be perfect makes it more likely that they will be, or just makes you unhappy with things that fall short.
Nice theme.
Not similar to this year's theme.
Could you summarise what this year's theme was?
This year's theme is how you are a successful comedian if you are miserable off stage.
Is that the theme?
Well, in my head it is. What did you see the theme as?
I thought it was a theme about how if you expect happiness, and the culture is all about making us expect happiness, because we're always expecting a dream life in our dream home, you'll be given disappointment.
Yeah.
And it was sort of about, it felt like almost a philosophical treatise at times about how disappointment will be your due. But then in it, actually, there's so many bits of joy that are really funny. Like the bit that really tickled me again tonight was there's a news story about a crocodile that's found near Huddersfield.
Yeah.
And in the radio interview, there is an old man who says the strangest words that are ever heard on radio, which are,
that's not a creature from around here.
yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it?
That bit, and I just really tickled me, that bit, and it struck me that that a lot of the things that I've really enjoyed about this year's Fringe have often been like people describing true moments.
Yeah, well, that's what comically I tend towards that, but I find it more and more frustrating because it's much easier to make stuff up, and very often if you're telling a story,
yeah,
you know yourself, you'll have a bit and you'll think, if I tell the audience that I told my wife that will get a massive laugh.
Yeah.
And if I tell the audience that I thought it would have been funny if I told my wife that'll get quite a big laugh. And you're actually limited by the truth.
Yeah.
And I try and always with my routines say things like, it would have been funny if I'd said, or I thought maybe, and you know, this is the first year I've felt that is a futile endeavour and I should just absolutely talk out of my arse.
You are extremely tied to truth at times.
Yeah.
Were there moments when you were sort of putting the routine down to say the truth of it?
Yeah.
Can I just say that in the show, there was a bit that you got very upset by, which was 3 people left.
Yeah, I did get quite upset by that.
But can I just tell you, I was dying. I almost started to put my hand up because those men, before the show had started, were going, no, let's go, no, let's leave 12 minutes early. We've got to leave 12 minutes early. They had to leave.
I understand that.
For that thing. But, you know.
I understand they had to leave to be somewhere else. But even so, it would be nice to believe that my thing were more important. It's the arrogance of a performer. It's never easy. And it's the fact that you don't refer to it, so however many other people didn't leave are just thinking, maybe we should have left. Where are they going? This is only going to go...
I know. I was dying for you to ask, and I could have told you that they
just get into a world of shit there, don't you, where you say, does anyone know why they left? Yeah, they just hated you and your ideas and your thoughts on the world.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't the right thing to have asked.
No, it's you know, especially in Edinburgh. Last year I had a room that was so hot that people were leaving sort of 20 minutes in because they felt so nauseous with the heat. And I had to start saying at the beginning, if you need to leave, don't push it to the point where you throw up on someone's head. Just go and get some fresh air because it's only comedy. You know, don't die.
Yeah. Can I ask, have you had a good festival?
It's been an interesting festival, this one. You've caught me at an interesting point to ask that question.
No, you're feeling like we're in the last Wednesday. So
the
we're
last Wednesday, there are how many days left?
If we were in a marathon, this is the marathon in which the blisters will have burst.
If we were in a marathon, this is the point where the blisters have burst. You've realised that you are no good at running this marathon, and you are about 506th in the race, and you just think, if I don't finish, who will really give a shit? I'm certainly not going to win, but bloody Haile Gebrselassie won again. Yeah. So, maybe it's time to take off the monkey outfit and, try and regain some dignity and get back on that bloody bus.
What do you think you're going to do next year?
It's impossible to tell, isn't it? The job of a comedian's it's a great job, because someone could come up to me tomorrow and say, do you want to fly to Zimbabwe and host a show about blah, blah, blah? Anything could happen this year. At the moment, I think I'll probably write new jokes, come up and feel like this again, almost a year to the day. Let's do this interview again, a year to the day.
Do it exactly in a year's time.
I'm tempted to say a sort of Stephen Redgrave kind of, if you see me near a boat. I'm tempted to say, if you see me in Edinburgh doing a show next year, then just kick me in the balls hard.
Well, I do understand that. It's that moment of feeling a bit deflated. But I do also believe that there are things that you've seen in the month and have despite your better judgment, you've started to go,
despite my desperate urge to be unhappy.
I quite like that. I would be quite interested in exploring that further. What are the things that you've noticed and wanted to explore?
The bit I started with today, the thought I had in... I had a thought in Andy Zaltzman's show today where he was talking about the polar ice caps melting. And I had a thought that, life will continue after we're gone. And I suddenly realised I was sort of looking forward to the end of the world, which is quite a morbid thought, but quite uplifting as well.
I was very struck by the same thought. I was thinking, good thought. And in fact, when I watched you the first time, I was thinking, I think you need to explore how we actually, the end of civilization, part of us wants it. I mean, if you imagine that you were God for a moment, and that you'd got Adam and Eve, and you'd seen... that civilization began like, 2 made 4, then 8, and you'd seen civilization flourish like a great flower. Yeah. At this point, with 6 billion here, you'd have to feel that the petals were at least browning a bit as the sound of this jet engine
of the bomb coming down.
Comes down.
The nukes have been dropped.
Yeah.
Do you know there's a book called Sum, S-U-M, by David Eagleman? Have you read it? It's on that theory of, they're sort of humanising God a little bit, and there are some great stories where God is just a man who sort of made Adam and Eve and was proud, and is now just up there going, the fuck are you doing with this? I don't know. There'll be new ideas, and, in September you get away and you do something else. I'm going away for a couple of weeks to a cottage in the middle of nowhere, and I'll suddenly get all excited again, and there'll be leaves and rivers and the laughter of children. And all the stuff that is supposed to matter in life. That at the moment, I mean, you get 2 minutes out of the Edinburgh Festival, suddenly it's an irrelevance. You can't believe you got so het up in it.
Also, I think the theme of civilization reaching its end and the frustration of it would be very funny, because during your show you imagined that we'd be digging up the people, and we'd be going, so what the heck happened to those people? And you'd be looking at the human race, and you'd be having to think, well, they must have been like kind of old ladies or something. They were going, well, that if you carry on flying those planes, the rest of the world will actually, the air will disappear. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Is it Billy Connolly does the bit about putting life jackets on planes, not so that it'll save your life, but because in 10 million years they'll think there was a river here. I like that thought that there'll be something after us that will find our skeletons and try and work out what we were like. And at the moment, everything at the moment about the internet, which I suspect is what this interview is going on, about how it just makes everything immortal. And this is just a conversation between two blokes that will suddenly be an immortal reference point that you could Google Jon Richardson, Edinburgh Fringe, and this will come up for all eternity.
Edinburgh 2010. The interview with Andrew Clover when Jon was feeling quite downhearted, I think we could admit that. The final Wednesday of the Fringe. However, the point in which he realised that next year he would take on the full destruction of the species.
The end is I. That's what I'll call it.
We've got it.